that people are caught up on autopilot from the time they're children, because as Dean was saying, that they're not really connected to themselves, and then they carry those scripts through their entire lives, and then they're going to the relationships still playing out those patterns. So they're not really relating to each other authentically, and they're just not really functioning. They're just getting caught up with each other or in relationships based on attraction and emotions, but not making choices, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and that's why I was involved in helping the younger generation, so that when these people, they're married and they've got these kids, and all of a sudden they start arguing, and that affects the child. The child now thinks it's their fault, lives this guilt that goes through them. And the parents must be conscious of what's going on in their home as to what the effect is having on their children, because these are just children. They don't know. They see somebody arguing, and they see, I mean, I had an incident that there was this big argument going on, and somebody called the police, and now this is a big effect on the kids. So I think before, we start to try to sort of, we've got to be conscious of the surroundings of who we are and who we are affecting, especially in the marriage, in the family unit, 100%.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of perspective. When we realize how valuable our relationship is to us, and some of the petty things that really get us involved in arguments, anybody from the outside would look and say, how could you be arguing over the car keys or dirty socks on the floor? If we look at perspective, what our relationships really mean, we could step back and begin to process that at a much higher level of consciousness.
You're absolutely right. Just a conversation. Well, when somebody has a conversation, if somebody's having an argument, somebody's mad,
right,
and you walk into the room and they start yelling at you, I always say, don't take that on. They're mad, they're upset, so don't take that on, and you start arguing, then you've got this whole thing going on.
Yeah.
Think before you do it, or leave the room, or don't create this humongous, argument over a pair of socks.
Well, some of the core issues are really basic, and it's really a shame. We've got a 50% divorce rate, and I think we learned how to communicate and work in conflict in a way that doesn't bring the other person down.
Well, but the other part of course, is that they're not really relating to each other as authentic people. Right. They're getting involved with each other in a place that they're just responding on an attraction level and on an emotional level, and then they continue to do that, and they're really not even connected to each other on a real level.
And they have to get grounded into each other, that it's not always going to be, roses and all this beautiful stuff. Sometimes you're going to have these conflicts, and I think that's where the conscious view comes in, that you've got to understand each other and give that space, give that little space, and just, have respect for them and understand them, and what's going on in their head might not be the same as what's going on in your head, but try to understand it a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry, it's a circuit breaker where we could not only prevent arguments, but we could stop them much more quickly if we become aware.
Yes.
And be willing, if you're in an argument, to be open and express yourself authentically, as opposed to just continuing with the nonsense.
And you're right, and I think because of the family unit now, we're getting a tremendous amount of divorces, which is fine. Two people don't get on, but you've got to understand that there's children involved, and then these children are going to grow up into this sort of unconscious way of sort of, and that they become oblivious of what really is going on, because they really don't know, because they've got two parents, one over here, and then they've got another woman coming in, another guy coming in, so they've got the stepmother, the stepfather, the mother, and the father. They've got all this to actually grow up in.
This is your model. This is the model.
That's right.
And this is what they have to grow into, and it's like, these poor souls, there's stuff out there.
Right. And then they continue to.
Yes, I'm sure it does, and it answers probably a lot of the answers are probably there for our viewers as well.
I hope so, yes.
Even if it's between the lines sometimes. So would you say that people really need to, at some point, learn, and I know this was true for me, how to connect to myself first before I can connect to you, or to you, Karen, or to you, or anybody else?
That would be the ideal situation. It doesn't always happen that way.
Right.
And my belief is that sometimes you can learn in relationship, a little bit tougher, but it can be done in relationship as well.
Absolutely. And I think to like yourself, is I have a great thing out there. I always say, hey, look into that mirror, smile at yourself and say you love yourself, because you've got to really connect with yourself, and whatever's in here, sometimes we don't bring it out, and we don't say what it is, but it's still in there, and so you're giving the wrong message to the person, so therefore you're getting the wrong answer back, so therefore you've got absolutely nowhere from what you're trying to express out there, because you are giving the wrong message.
Right.
But
Well,
if
I-
you're truthful,
Exactly. Yeah, well, I was saying, if you value yourself, then others will value you. It doesn't seem fair in life that you think that if you're humble, that people will respect you and value you, but it doesn't work that way. So if you value yourself, then others will treat you with more respect.
there you
Yes.
go. Put a price on yourself.
There you
Right.
go.
No, put a price on
So,
yourself.
so what would you say when we're not connected? What are we doing?
We're oblivious of living, and we're not really.
We're
not
reliving
really-
our past. is
Yes.
what we're doing.
Yes,
you're on
we're-
autopilot.
We're just, yeah, you're
You're
on
just
autopilot. I
yes,
love that
yes.
autopilot thing, but you're just not connected. You are just not connected and never
And-
will be connected.
And reacting
It's
all the
what we call
time.
the not you.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you're not you and you have a relationship with another
Not
you, then you have a
Two
not
not yous.
relationship.
And then we
Yeah,
have
in
more
this case, two minuses don't make a positive.
Well, there you got it. Yes. Autopilot. Love that all
Fascinating.
about. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, experts on our relationship theme.